obviously there's many examples in European history of people who have successfully led countries by means that we would not deem to be very good. You know, most of the time those regimes do not last particularly long. You know, you had brief periods of time where Mussolini was able to bring the Italians out of their depression. You know, Adolf Hitler brought Germany out of the problems that they faced in the Weimar Republic. However, when you behave in the way that they behave, those regimes tend not to last particularly long. But you know, throughout the course of history, leaders have often used methods which were suspect, and yet were still able to hold their country together, usually through fear, control of the military, or through some sort of economic constraint. I think most of your great leaders would have cared more about the good of the state. But in many cases, governments throughout history have had to sacrifice civil liberties in order to control their governments. And I think if you had to pick, most societies have focused on the whole rather than the part. As a teacher, I try to be fair, I try to be consistent, I try to be open-minded. You would know better than I do, and most of your class would know better than I do if I'm successful in that. Yep. I try to engage you, but you know, I think the best way to learn is to have students enjoy themselves in the classroom. Even if maybe you don't enjoy the material, at least you can enjoy the time you spend in the class. And that's what I try to do as much as I can. What I would say is this, particularly when you're coaching high school sports, or in my case I coach both high school and middle school sports, athletics.
All safe for both.
I think you have to keep in mind what the ultimate goals are. The ultimate goal in high school and middle school sports is participation, development, and enjoyment. You know, obviously varsity sports, I do hold them more accountable because it is a higher level and so forth. But because the ultimate goal is not winning, I think that you behave more morally. You know, I do complain a lot to referees. I'm a bit of a whiner. To the officials, at least in basketball more so than the others, but they're not good, the refs. It's not my fault. But when I see coaches, you know, for example, let's say you're in a middle school softball game and you're losing 16-2. That's never happened. But I saw a coach who had one of his players steal home, winning 16-2. I would never do that. In my estimation, that's morality too. You know, not showing up in other people. You're in a competition. Of course, you want to win, but at what cost? What are you sacrificing to win? So leaders are always put in a position where you have to juggle what you think is right and what you think is best, and sometimes they may not always gel. And sometimes what you're going to see is some of your constituents, some of your team, your class, they may not always agree with every decision you make, but if you make decisions consistently based upon a core set of values, then, you know, at least hopefully they'll respect you even if they may disagree with you.
Yeah.
And I think governments need to do the same. If you think your government is acting in the best interest, or what they think is the best interest of their society, you cut them slack. Whereas if they're acting selfishly for their own best interest, that tends to be where revolutions happen.
Oh, yeah, so you're basically moral besides with bad refs.
It's not my fault.